Hi guys, so welcome to my Sunday live, Sunday the 26th of September 2021. So hope you're all well in the midst the madness and the madness and the chaos of people listening to a few things about there might be a shortage of fuel, but no, don't worry, because there's plenty of it. Just carry on as normal. You put that out there, and you're going to expect people to go, what do you mean? What do you mean? But they're just saying there isn't, and off everyone scurries. And now there's a shortage of fuel. Maybe the prices will go up. But hey ho, that's for another story, another conversation, another time. So that's what's happening in the big wide world. But here in my world, Sunday Live, last week I was talking about some constants, some things that I tend to use both in terms of, could be in my own business, it could be with therapy clients, coaching clients, my supervision, in the courses that I deliver. It cuts across the board really. And I was talking about some tools and techniques that are helpful. And I talked previously about the breathing techniques, keeping a reflective journal, also about free-flowing writing, including making reference to the artist's way. And also I remember talking about the idea of giving out your energy and your time to people who also reciprocate that, so it doesn't end up being one-sided. So continuing with the theme of some of the constants this week, one of the things that I also wanted to pick up on was the idea of working with values, personal values, could be group values, organisational values, but it's important that these are what I call aligned with your level of satisfaction, how you want to live your life, what motivates you, your purpose, and so on. Now, you can, either for yourself or for other people, literally just give people a list of values and say, choose the ones that are important to you. You can do that, no problem. But I tend to find if I'm doing a bit more work on that, particularly with other people, that it's more beneficial to really work that through with people. So, for example, you can look at what's a peak value, a peak experience in somebody's life. A point where they felt really alive, on fire. It was a really high moment, and then help them to unpick what was happening then. What people were there, what could you hear, what could you smell, what could you see, use all those senses to bring it to life, and then begin to sort of help them ask some questions around what was happening, who was there, what was the energy like, and it may be you can bring out some key values for that individual. Could be adventure, could be independence, could be connection, could be energy, it could be curiosity, and so forth. The other thing as well is that what you can also do, but you have to be a bit more mindful with this, is you can do a low experience as well as a peak experience. But with the low experience, just need to be mindful of not getting too caught up in the story, if you like, so that you still you miss or you forget that really you're trying to help people look at values that maybe were stepped over, maybe were squashed, maybe were taken away from them. So, for example, let's say somebody had one of their low points was about, when they're in a difficult relationship or when that came to a close, and you look at, what was it that was stepped over, what was it that wasn't present, that wasn't happening for them. And for example, they may say that they felt constrained, claustrophobic, they weren't being heard or listened to, they didn't feel sort of connected. And so you can pull out values that way as well, by looking at things that weren't there. So if you look at the opposite of those things, so for somebody it may be that their value around independence, their value around being able to be respected or heard, listened to, and so on, wasn't present. But those things are really important to them. Their value of being playful and curious may have not been present. So what I also do with the values as well is that it's one thing to identify them, but then in terms of really enabling people to get a sense of how they're showing up, I have what I call like a 28-day, 30-day, literally it's like lots of squares, it's like an action grid. And I'll get people to list about 10, and then each day they'll score. So on a scoring of 0 to 10, I'll get them to question and reflect on this, say, in a journal. To what degree did, say, the value of connection show up for you today? To what degree was you allowing this value to show up, to live, to breathe it? And if it was the max, you'd score it as a 10. If it was the lowest ever and it wasn't even showing up at all, then you might score it 0 or 1. And you do that for the 10 values. And I encourage people to actually do it every day for, say, at least a month. And then what you're enabling somebody to look at is keep an eye on the scores. And some of the ones that are perhaps, say, falling lower than at least 5, but they're saying those are important to them, then I get them to spend more time with those and, let's say, create some actions around what would help increase. However, it may be that when they're noticing there's, say, 1 or 2 where the scores are very low and they continue to be low, it may mean that what they thought was a key value in their life may actually be more a value that somebody else in their upbringing or their family or their culture said was important, and they've took that on board, but actually it may not be now as an adult, it may not be quite so important for them. So it is important to also be able to just sort of challenge, that if you like, those ones that would be the lower scores as well. And as I said, and then eventually, after a month or so period of time, then begin to look at what needs to happen to actually increase these values, particularly ones that they're saying are important, and the actions that need to be created for them as well. So that's one way of being able to keep an eye on your values. One of the other things that shows up time and time again is affirmations. And, affirmations are positive self-statements. However, a lot of people will just choose affirmations because they see them as a list, I don't know, on Google or in a book, or because some people say, oh, this is a positive affirmation. But what you need to do with affirmations is make them really powerful and personal to you. So say, for example, if I was to say, I am caring. Now, that's positive in itself, and it's describing perhaps, say, a quality I see myself, but it's not quite powerful enough. So for an affirmation, what really helps is to add what I call a sense of identity to it as well, as in a part of your own identity. So if, for example, I then add part of my identity and I say, I am a caring mother, I'm a caring sister, I'm a caring coach, I'm a caring therapist. You with me? It's like the idea is that you add the quality and then you also add a piece about your identity. And those two pieces together are much more powerful because they really are linking in not only with the quality but also with the sense of identity as well. So that's what I'd say about affirmations. There's lots of other stuff on affirmations, you can look up and read about and even look at some of the research that's been done in the science to show how it can also influence and affect some of the neurotransmitters in the brain. It can also create some new neuro pathways as well. There's a lot more information coming forth right now, and I'm sure to come in the future that has talked quite a lot about the influence and impact of the neuroscience as well. But just as a little piece on the affirmations, just be really sort of focused on having a quality and also adding some sense of your own identity as well. That's quite important. Another thing that I use quite a lot in various pieces of my work is the idea of what I call that circle of concern versus influence. And what we sort of look at is the idea that a lot of what's in that idea of the circle of concern tends to be stuff that we actually don't have much or very little control over, but it tends to take up and consume people's thoughts. So, for example, in concern, it may be I've got no, control over, what that particular MP says or does. I don't feel I have control over what somebody else is saying about me. I don't feel I have much control over, the weather, for example, and so on. But they often take a lot of our energy and our thought process because we don't necessarily have an awful lot of control over those things. So the idea of the circle of influence is that you focus your energy and your effort on what you do have influence over. And those can be the smallest of things. I could turn around and say, I have influence over, what time I choose to get up. I have influence over whether I have, my drink, a choice between a couple of drinks, whether I have breakfast at this time or that time, and so forth. But it doesn't have to necessarily be massive things. The piece about the influence is that the more you focus on the things you have some influence over, the more it actually helps you, really start to feel that, do you know what? I have some energy around this because I do have some influence. It begins to fill that mindset in that way. It lifts your energy and your spirits more. And what you tend to find is it starts to almost start doing that, expands your mind. It gives you more room to feel good about the things you do have influence over. And I'm not saying therefore it takes away all the stuff you don't have, all that control over. But what it does do is it helps you to stay focused, and to feel, that you can and do have influence over a certain amount of your, sort of life as well. So yeah, that's really quite important as well. Something else that I picked up in the week was, it was called 10 Ways You Abandon Yourself. And these were the pieces, and then I'm going to actually turn it around. So 10 ways you abandon yourself. So it said, not trusting your instincts, people pleasing, hiding parts of yourself, perfectionism, self-criticism and judgment, not honouring your needs, suppressing your feelings, codependent relationships, and not speaking up for yourself. So I was sort of thinking to myself, well, if I flip that around and almost imagine, therefore 10 ways you can embrace yourself, do you know what I mean? You can really sort of look after yourself and take care of yourself rather than the abandoning yourself. I was turning these things around. So 10 ways you can embrace yourself and care for yourself. Then firstly, it would be trusting your instincts, knowing that when you hear that little voice or you feel something in your body and deep down something doesn't feel quite right, then you listen to it. You don't ignore it, because that's what tends to happen for people a lot of the time. And also, the more you, coming back to the previous week, the more you get in tune with your values, the more you do stuff like, say, a reflective journal or a diary, and you spend time looking at raising your own level of awareness, the more you do, say, the breathing skills and get in tune with your own body, the more likely you are to actually listen to and act upon your instincts, because you'll be much more connected to them as well. The second one, so to not people please is another way of actually embracing yourself and looking after yourself. But if you're being true to your values and what you know and believe is right for you, and you're focused on that, then you're less likely to seek validation elsewhere. Same with, not hiding parts of yourself. So actually showing all aspects of yourself in all its, many forms, and that also means that you're able to then be I think more honest as well with people. You're also perhaps able to show many different aspects of yourself to different people as well, rather than just one or two. And I think therefore you then become much more conscious and assertive and accepting of those parts of yourself as well. And even if somebody else doesn't seem to be accepting that, it's like, well, that's okay, because maybe that they can't, or that isn't right for them at that point in time. Not having perfectionism. Okay, so it's okay to have standards, totally, but not to a point where you're putting that much pressure on yourself. You're setting yourself up and or others to fail, because that's perfectionism at its height. So yes, have standards, but at the same time, make sure that they're realistic, and also that they're realistic to be in alignment with what you're saying. For example, your values are, what you're saying is important to your life, and what you're wanting for yourself, and supporting those affirmations as well. The being good enough rather than the not being good enough, this idea of criticizing yourself and judging yourself. You're going to have many other people in life who will be judging you a lot of the time. A lot of people won't even really know that much about you. They'll be judging, even on physical appearance and so on, and making up their own assumptions quite quickly. So if you're going to have that many people do that generally, then to give yourself a chance, it's like, accept and be present to who you are, and know that, we're all human. Nobody's perfect. We're trying to all find our own way and work our way through things. So you are good enough. Today was good enough. What you did was good enough. Tomorrow, the next day, they're new days. Start again. Another one, honouring your needs rather than not honouring your needs. So recognising that your needs are valid, and it's really important to practice that self-care. So giving yourself more time, saying no to people, being clear about your boundaries, what you do want, what you don't want. If you know that you feel like you need to give yourself a bit more downtime, if you need to go for that walk, rather than meeting somebody when you said, you perhaps pushing yourself a little bit too much, then be honest and mindful about that as well. But listen to your own needs. Accepting and being aware of your feelings, and being okay with that. And also perhaps sometimes when they can be, difficult and challenging to be with, perhaps question a little bit more about, okay, so what is that about? What's underneath that? What's that perhaps telling me? And it may be that what comes out of listening to your feelings at times is that you may realise you perhaps haven't given yourself enough self-care, or you've said yes to too many other things, or yes to too many other things for other people, and not really given enough for yourself as well. Another one, it says here, remember the 10 ways. So I said accepting yourself and self-care rather than abandoning yourself. Acting according to what you believe your own values and beliefs are. So coming back to what I was saying earlier on about being conscious of your values, keeping an eye on them, monitoring them, being, really aware of the decisions that you're making as well. So when you're looking at those values, asking yourself, are the decisions I am currently making, are they supporting my values? Are they allowing them to show up, and or not? And if not, then what actions need to be taken to challenge that? This piece about codependent relationships, which was really about serving others completely at your own expense. It's like, actually, you can have interdependent relationships where they're healthy, and it's a mutual reciprocal thing, and there's generally a good amount of balance. But if you completely are giving of yourself in whatever way that is, at your own expense, then ultimately you're not really doing yourself any favour. You're going to burn out, and the relationship with that other person isn't really going to be based probably on not only true honesty, but also it won't really be a true reflection of who you are, and who you could be at your best as well. And then the last piece is important, which is about speaking up for yourself. So asking for what you need, setting your boundaries, and being clear with people, and not letting them take advantage of you. So I just like the way there was this, as I say, this piece I saw, which was 10 ways to abandon yourself. I turned that around and was thinking, so what can you do to put those things in place to actually embrace yourself and to look at that self-care? So yeah, hopefully that's given you a couple of perhaps thoughts on what you can do to be looking after yourself that little bit more. I'm now going to share a couple of sort of what I call randoms. I think, if you've sort of listened to some of the stuff I've shared in the past, I like my what I call my random facts. So just a couple here. My first one, this might make a few people squirm. It's Casu Marzu is a Sardinian cheese that contains live maggots. The maggots can jump up to 5 inches out of cheese while you're eating it. So it's a good idea to shield it with your hand to stop them jumping into your eyes. I just couldn't get, I like cheese, but I just couldn't get my head around the fact that it was this thing, like, this type of Sardinian cheese where the maggots apparently can actually, imagine them jumping up at you. I don't quite know whether I found it more funny, fascinating, or just weren't quite sure about that. But that's the one fact. Another fact, did you know that during World War II, the crew of the British submarine HMS Trident kept a fully grown reindeer called Pollyanna aboard their vessel for 6 weeks? And apparently it was a gift from the Russians. I thought that was just, quite amazing, really. To think that there was this reindeer that was kept on board for 6 weeks. It's just like, wow, never heard of that. And the other one I'll share, which probably a little bit more, imagine that. And it says, another random fact, the Romans used to clean and whiten their teeth with urine. Apparently it works, although I'm not sure you all want to be perhaps rushing out to really, all clean your own teeth with your own urine. I'm sure I imagine it's something actually that somebody like Bear Grylls would probably come up with and share with people. He probably already has. You're out in the wild and he's going, yeah, we've got nothing here, but we need to keep our teeth clean, so get your urine out. So that was what came to mind. A couple of other things I'm going to sort of share in terms of a few quotes I've shared on my Facebook in the week, because they came up as things I'd shared previously, like, over the years, which I've done quite a bit. And then they come up every so often. They say a year or 5 years or 8 years to the date. So a few of these I'd shared on my Facebook, but I'm just going to name them here. So I do think they're really sort of quite important ones. So the one that I'd mentioned on my Facebook at some point was, enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. There's something about that I do really like. Enjoy yourself, it's later than you think. And that's a Chinese proverb. So always that element of, later than you think. Don't quite know how much time you've really got. That's I think what strikes me about that one. Another quote, which I'd mentioned in the week, some people are always grumbling because roses have thorns. I am thankful that thorns have roses. Quite like that idea of, I see that as that, the glass is half full rather than half empty, and also focusing on the beauty, focusing on the peace that is there within the thorns, and actually how perhaps there's a place for all of it, really. The thorns are also helping to protect the rose as well. So Yeah, I like that. That was by somebody called Alphonse Carr. And then another one by Lady Dorothy Neville. This quote: "The real art of conversation is not only to say the right thing in the right place, but to leave unsaid the wrong thing at the tempting moment." So the real art of conversation is not only to say the right thing in the right place, but to leave unsaid the wrong thing at the tempting moment. I'm sure we could all do with a little bit more of that, no doubt. And I'll give you a word of the day that I've had before a little while ago now. Vespertine. It's spelled Vespertine. And it means the bot of a flower opening in the evening, and then active in the evening, and then setting near the time of sunset, and then of or occurring in the evening. It's quite like the idea. So it's all about in sort of association with the evening. I was like, oh, vespertine, I'm having a vespertine time, or yeah, I just found that really quite interesting. So that's the word of the day. So what I'm going to share now is a couple of my own poems before I do anything else. So just bear with me a moment. So the first poem I'm going to share with you, it's titled Time For. So time for. Time goes slowly, time moves fast. Time will tell. Tell what? That this too will pass. Time to reflect, to laugh, to linger, to be sad. Sad for what's gone before, what others can't be with. How we protect ourselves, but only end up creating walls. Walls of a fortress that barricade ourselves in. A fortress within our own thoughts, tightly locked so others can't get in. Oh, to let the drawbridge down, to let some of the walls down, the self-imposed beliefs down, to let the ones go that do not serve well anymore, the ones that protected for a period of time, but now only serve as a prison, to limit oneself, to be bound up in shoulds and musts and oughts, to let go of them and claim coulds, will not, to choose and make choices, to be claiming power, to create your rules to live by, to design what is right for you, for me, for us, to recreate, to create, to co-create, to design a life together. And that was called Time For. My second one I'm going to read is called Life. Live, alive, breathe, liver, deliver, delivered, to deliver life, to be delivered into this world. I have been delivered, brought back to life, to be given another chance, a chance to live, to really live, to notice and appreciate everything for all it's worth, from the tiniest, most insignificant to the largest, from the most beautiful and delicate to the ugly. For even in ugly there is beauty, and in beauty there can be ugly. To embrace it all, for all it's worth, for what is it worth, if not to be embraced, accepted as priceless? How can you ever put a price, a worth on this life we live? This amazing, precious, wonderful gift we're given, which we mostly take for granted, take as a given, and it is given. But it may also be taken away at any moment, any given moment, moment by moment, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year. Time ticks away until a moment, a pause, and life stops. Breath slows and stops. Embracing life stops for now. And that was called Life. So those are my two poems I wanted to share. So I have to close my sort of Sunday time with you. As always, I've got a song I'm going to sort of sing us out to. As always, you're more than welcome to sing along, sway along, boogie, whatever it is you're doing in your own homes. But if you want to join with me, then absolutely very, very welcome. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You'd be like heaven to touch. Oh, I wanna hold you so much. At long last love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. Pardon the way that I stare. There's nothing else to compare. The sight of you leaves me weak. There are no words left to speak. But if you feel like I feel, please let me know that it's real. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. Ba-dum, 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 bum, bum, ba-dum, 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 bum, ba-dum, 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 bum, bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. I love you, baby, and if it's quite alright, I need you, baby, to warm the lonely night. I love you, baby. Trust in me when I say, oh pretty baby, don't bring me down, I pray. Oh pretty baby, now that I found you, stay and let me love you, baby. Let me love you. Just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much. At long last love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum, ba-dum, bam. I love you, baby, and if it's quite alright, I need you, baby, to warm the lonely nights. I love you, baby. Trust in me when I say, oh pretty baby, don't bring me down, I pray. Oh pretty baby, now that I found you, stay. Oh pretty baby, trust in me when I say, I need you, baby. When will you come my way? Oh pretty baby, now that I found you, stay. Let me love you, baby. Let me love you. Ooh. So that was my song. Can't take my eyes off you. So thank you as always. Whether you're watching live, whether you watch it later on at some other point. Just want to say thank you. Thank you for watching, for joining, for sort of contributing any of your thoughts, your reflections. Please do feel free to contact me at any point if there's anything that you think I can possibly support or help you with. So yeah, thank you as always, real privilege, and it lifts me. Do you know what I mean? I feel this gives me energy. I feel that inspires me, and I want to be able to find different ways of actually connecting and supporting and perhaps giving a bit of a laugh as well at some other points. So whatever it is that you take from it, then yeah, just keep it close to you. Look after yourselves. Have a good week, and hopefully I shall speak to you really soon, guys. Take care. Bye. Bye.